The auction hall reeked of desperation and exotic perfumes. Kira stood on the raised platform, her wrists bound in electromagnetic cuffs that hummed against her skin. Around her, dozens of other humans waited in similar restraints, their faces blank with resignation or twisted with barely contained fear. She had learned long ago that showing emotion only increased your value to certain buyers. The Vorgathy auctioneer, a towering creature with 6 eyes and skin like polished obsidian, gestured toward her with one of its 4 arms. Its translator device crackled to life, broadcasting in a dozen languages simultaneously. Specimen 742, it announced. Human female, 26 standard years, excellent health, no genetic defects. Education level, university graduate. Skills include mathematical analysis, linguistic aptitude, and basic mechanical engineering. Opening bid, 40,000 credits. Kira kept her gaze fixed on the far wall, refusing to look at the crowd of alien buyers below. She had been captured 3 months ago when her colony ship suffered a catastrophic malfunction near the outer rim. Pirates had boarded, killed half the crew, and sold the rest to various flesh markets across the sector. She had always known the risks of deep space colonization, but knowledge did nothing to ease the cold knot of fear in her stomach. The bidding began. A Threxian merchant offered 50,000. A Quellan diplomat countered with 60. Kira recognized the type, wealthy collectors who wanted humans as exotic servants or worse. She had heard the stories in the holding cells, whispered between prisoners in the dead of night. Some buyers were cruel. Others were simply indifferent to the suffering of beings they considered little more than clever animals. Then she saw him. He sat in the back corner of the auction hall, half hidden in shadows. Human, unmistakably human. His features were weathered, his clothing practical rather than ornate. He wore a long coat that had seen better days, and his dark hair was pulled back in a simple tie. Most striking were his eyes, sharp, calculating, and filled with a barely controlled rage that made something in Kira's chest tighten with hope. Their gazes locked for a fraction of a second. She saw recognition there, and something else. Purpose. The bidding had reached 90,000 credits. A Zelkovan noble, dripping with jewels and reeking of synthesized pheromones, raised a crystalline paddle. 100,000, it said in a voice like grinding glass. And I will take her immediately. The Zelkovans were notorious. They purchased humans as living decorations, subjecting them to surgical modifications and mind alterations until nothing of their original personality remained. Kira's breath caught. This was it. Her fate sealed. The human in the corner stood. 150,000, he said. His voice carried across the hall, clear and unwavering. Every syllable dripped with defiance. The auction hall fell silent. Aliens turned to stare at him, their various sensory organs focusing on this unexpected bidder. The Vorgathy auctioneer's 6 eyes blinked in rapid succession. The bid is 150,000 credits, it confirmed. Do we have a counter? The Zelkovan noble made a sound like breaking crystal. 200,000. 300,000, the human replied without hesitation. Gasps rippled through the crowd. That was an extraordinary sum, enough to purchase a small spacecraft or a luxury residence on most civilized worlds. The Zelkovan turned fully toward the human, its body language radiating hostility. You dare compete with me, mammal? It hissed. I am Lord Thasker of the 4th dynasty. My wealth eclipses your entire species. The human smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Then you should have no problem going to 400,000. Kira watched the exchange with growing amazement. The human's audacity was either brilliant or suicidal. Possibly both. She could see other humans in the holding area behind her, their faces pressed against the energy barrier, watching with desperate hope. Lord Thasker's crystalline skin flushed with color. a sign of extreme agitation in his species. 450,000. Final offer. 500,000, the human countered. Cash, right now. The auctioneer's translator device sputtered. 500,000 credits was more than the entire day's projected sales combined. It looked between the two bidders, clearly uncertain how to proceed. I must verify funds, it said finally. The human produced a credit chip and tossed it onto the auction block. The auctioneer's assistant, a smaller Vorgathy, scurried forward and inserted it into a verification terminal. Its eyes widened. Funds confirmed, it whispered. Lord Thasker made a sound like an avalanche. This is an outrage. I will file a complaint with the trading authority. I will. You'll do nothing, the human interrupted. Unless you want me to share certain information about your tax evasion schemes with the dynasty auditors. I'm sure they'd be fascinated to learn where your wealth actually comes from. The Zelkovan noble froze. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Lord Thasker turned and stalked from the auction hall, its entourage scrambling to follow. The auctioneer cleared its throat, a sound like grinding machinery. Sold to the human bidder for 500,000 credits. Please proceed to the collection area. Kira's legs nearly gave out as guards released her cuffs and guided her off the platform. She descended the steps on shaking limbs, her mind reeling. 500,000 credits. Who was this man? And more importantly, what did he want with her? She met him in the collection room, a sterile space where transactions were finalized. Up close, she could see the scars on his hands, the calluses that spoke of hard labor. This was no wealthy collector. This was someone who had fought and scraped for everything he had. My name is Marcus Reed, he said quietly, captain of the merchant vessel Phoenix Rising. I'm not going to hurt you. Kira's voice came out hoarse. Why did you do this? 500,000 credits is everything I had, Marcus finished. Every credit I've saved over 15 years of trading. My ship's repair fund, my retirement account, everything. He paused. I'm human. You're human. That's reason enough. Tears burned Kira's eyes. You don't even know me. I know enough. Marcus gestured toward the door. The Phoenix is docked at Bay 7. I have quarters prepared for you. You'll work off your debt as part of my crew, but you'll be paid fair wages and treated with respect. Once the debt is cleared, you're free to go wherever you want. That's the deal. And if I refuse? Marcus's expression hardened. Then I wasted everything I had, and you go back on the auction block tomorrow. Your choice. It wasn't really a choice at all, but Kira understood the principle he was establishing. This wasn't charity. This was a transaction, one that preserved her dignity, even as it acknowledged the harsh reality of her situation. I accept, she said. They left the auction house together, passing through corridors filled with other beings, buying and selling sentient creatures like commodities. Kira kept her head high, refusing to show the shame and anger that churned inside her. Marcus walked beside her, his hand resting on the weapon at his hip, daring anyone to interfere. The Phoenix Rising was exactly what Kira expected, a battered freighter that had seen better decades. But it was clean, and when Marcus showed her to her quarters, she found a space that was small but private, with a real bed and a door that locked from the inside. Get some rest, Marcus said. We lift off in 6 hours. I'll introduce you to the rest of the crew then. Captain, Kira said as he turned to leave. Thank you. Marcus paused in the doorway. Thank me by being the best engineer this ship has ever had. That's how you pay me back. He hesitated, then added, And Kira? What happened to you? What happened to all of us out here in the Rim? It's not going to stand forever. Humans are done being prey. One rescue at a time, one freed slave at a time, we're going to change things. Count on it. After he left, Kira sat on the edge of her bed and let herself cry for the first time in months. Not tears of despair, but of relief and something else. Hope. The galaxy had tried to break humanity, tried to reduce them to commodities and curiosities. But here, in the actions of one stubborn captain who had sacrificed everything, she saw the truth. Humans were not prey. They were not pets or decorations or disposable labor. They were survivors. They were fighters. And most importantly, they took care of their own. Kira dried her eyes and looked around her new quarters. She had work to do, a debt to repay, and a future to build. The auction house seemed like a lifetime ago already. She was free, and she would make sure others found their freedom too.